Hey guys, I've got an exciting video for you today. We're going to be talking about the top 10 DOT violations counted in June of 2025 as provided by the state of Wyoming. And as a bonus, one of those violations is very commonly misunderstood by DOT enforcement officers and very commonly miscited on inspections by DOT enforcement officers. So stick around to the end. I'll talk about that violation and tell you what to look for and what to do if you get caught up in that violation. Coming in at number 10 on the list with 55 violations in the month of June of 2025 is operating a CMV without legal name or trade name displayed. If I had to guess why this one is on the list, I would guess that it's probably hotshots who took their magnets off and put them in the back seat, or maybe it's local companies that didn't realize that they met the rules and regulations and so they weren't marked accordingly. If either of those situations apply to you, just make sure you know what the definition of a commercial motor vehicle is and whether you meet the rules and regulations and the criteria, and get your vehicle marked. Keep the magnets on there and be aware of your surroundings. Coming in at number 9 on the list with 58 violations counted is failing to have a record of duty status using the method prescribed. So this one is on the list so close to the other one that I just mentioned with 55 violations for not being properly marked. What I think is probably happening in this case is these companies, like I said before, just don't realize that the rules and regulations apply to them. So their trucks aren't marked and they don't have logbooks in their trucks. That's what I think is happening. But for this specific violation, you could have a logbook and you're just not using it. You could be using a paper log when you're required to have an ELD. But what I think is happening in Wyoming is they're probably stopping companies that don't realize that they need to have these things in place. And it seems that way because they're so close together and the numbers are closely related to each other as well. Now, number 8 on the list had 59 violations for the month of June, but this is the bonus violation that I was going to talk about at the end of the video. So we'll circle back to this one and I'll talk about how this one is commonly miscited by DOT enforcement officers. Coming in at number 7 for the month of June with 64 violations found is brakes out of adjustment. Now this one might be a little bit trickier to find during a pre-trip inspection, but you can do it. Something that you can do is release your brakes and pull on that push rod. If it gives you more than that 1 inch of play, then that could be an indicator that there's an adjustment problem. I want to be clear that that 1 inch of play is not an FMCSR violation. That's just kind of an industry guidance that's been given out for years and years and years. People think that that's a violation or it's a rule. It's not. It's just a good indicator of if your brakes are adjusted well or not. Look for wear and tear on the slack adjusters. Be aware of what your normal is and what's not normal, and it should be pretty easy to identify if there's a problem with the brakes. Coming in at number 6 with 65 violations found in the month of June is operating a CMV without a proper CDL. Now, I know I sound like a broken record, but if I'm going back to those other violations that we've already talked about, it seems like companies are getting stopped that either don't know that the rules and regulations apply to them, or they're just trying to get by without following the rules and regulations. But no markings, no CDLs, no ELDs, they're all indicators to me that they're stopping companies that have all of these violations in one setting and they just hit them all. So if you're driving a big rig, 53-foot trailer, 18 wheels, you should know that you need a Class A. Make sure your medical card's good. Make sure that your license isn't expired. All your endorsements are good, and you should be good to go. Coming in at number 5, and this is the controversial one, with 66 violations counted in the month of June of 2025, driver cannot satisfy English language proficiency, failed interview. I am going to do a video on this soon. I've got a lot to say about the topic, but we are going to see this more and more. What's interesting is the out of service criteria didn't begin until the end of the month, but it still made the list of top violations for the month of June of 2025. And number 4 with 67 violations, no driver may make a false report in connection with the duty status. So a false log. But we have ELDs now, so we can't have false logs, right? Well, obviously not. You can still skate the rules and regulations by using yard moves to freely move down the highway, by inappropriately using PC. You can, in many cases, depending on the technology, unplug the box and drive without it. You can go in and sometimes alter your logs. Most companies won't allow you to change the drive line, but there's ways around it. Everybody knows it. So yeah, you can definitely have a false log in 2025 with an ELD. I should also mention that if the officer asks you to send the logbook to them using the code or the email method that's in the ELD, that ELD is going to rat you out. When they get that sent to their device in their car, it will show them all the red flag items, all the driver changes in the logbook, everything that you did. They will be able to see it. It'll stick out like a sore thumb. So just be aware that that's happening and that they have that available to them. Number 3 on the list with 80 violations: air brake, hose, tubing damaged or not secured. So I bet you this is the air lines from the cab to the trailer, the glad hand lines. Those are just so easy to spot. If you're going through a way station or if the officer is sitting in the median on the highway, they just stick out. They can see it from 100 yards away. If those are dragging on the catwalk, you're going to get stopped and you're going to get the violation for not secured. If they're damaged, you're going to get the violation for damage. So hang those up, get them suspended behind the cab, don't let them drag. Also, I did a short just a couple of days ago talking about a common air hose violation on the steer axle of a certain model of truck. So just be aware of any damage that might happen to those steer axle air lines while the truck is in motion. Coming in at number 2 with a whopping 118 violations counted: tires leaking or inflation less than 50% of the maximum inflation. That is a huge jump in numbers. What I think probably exists in the state of Wyoming is they have technology that detects hot tires. So they have infrared cameras at the weigh stations or at the rest areas, and they see a heat signature on a truck that is higher than what it should be. Underinflated tires are going to have more friction surface and they're going to get hotter. So they're going to see that on an infrared camera. I don't know that for a fact, but they went from 80 violations to 118 violations, and they were tire inflation violations. I did this for a long time, and I think I could count on 2 hands how many times I did a tire inflation violation. So for it to be so common in the month of June, it tells me that there's something that enhances their ability to find that. I could be wrong. Maybe they just check every single tire thoroughly, but I think they probably have technology to find it. Coming in at number 1 on the list, and this one shocks me, it really surprises me, with 128 violations counted, is operating a CMV without proof of periodic inspection. So again, I've been saying this the whole time. I think my gut tells me that these are companies that either didn't know or didn't want to follow the rules and regulations. So why is this one double the other violations, like no markings, no CDL? Well, if they have a truck and a trailer and neither one of them have a periodic inspection, that's 2 violations. So it will be double the amount of violations. Now, a common commercial motor vehicle combination, a 53-foot trailer and a power unit, we don't see this violation quite as often. Where we do see it a lot is on the trailer, because you're just going through the motions. It might be the 5th trailer you pulled that week. You're thumping tires, you're looking at lights and markings. You're not thinking to check that sticker that's on the front of the trailer, or maybe the report in the tube on the trailer. So just slow down, take a little bit of extra time there on the front of the trailer. Make sure that periodic inspection is there. Make sure the date is good, and you have nothing to worry about. Now, I promised you at the beginning that there was a violation on this list that was commonly misunderstood and commonly miscited by DOT enforcement officers, and that was in the number 8 spot with 59 violations counted: air brake, audible air leak at a proper connection. So back in 2023, CVSA actually put out an inspection bulletin, and these are for inspectors, not for companies, because there was a violation so commonly put on inspections that did not belong related to this very violation, audible air leaks. Now, it was related to automatic tire inflation and tire pressure monitoring systems. It's a 6-page bulletin, but I'd like to read part of it to you here. On page 6 of the 6-page bulletin, I'd like to read this part to you. It says, air exhausting from an ATIS is considered a part of normal operation and should not be recorded as a violation on a roadside inspection. So these systems are designed to regulate tire pressure. So they're going to be putting air pressure in and taking pressure out of the tires as the vehicle is in motion. And when the vehicle is parked and brakes are released, that system is going to exhaust air. That's part of its normal operation. Well, when do you park and release your brakes? during a roadside inspection. So these officers are hearing this system work as it normally should, and they're going, that sounds like an audible air leak. And they're giving you the violation out there. It's still happening. It was happening a lot not too long ago. In 2023 is when this bulletin came out. So if it happens to you, respectfully point out to the officer that that system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And they received a bulletin a couple of years ago telling them not to give you a violation for that. If they're persistent and they give you a violation for it, I would encourage you to record that audible air leak from that system, maybe on your phone, so you have documented evidence of that violation. And then your administrator or safety manager can data queue that on the back end when the inspection gets back to the office. But the bulletin exists because it's commonly miscited on inspections, and I don't want it to happen to you. So just be aware of it, know what that system is, know where it is. You can Google the 2023 bulletin on the automatic tire inflation systems and find the full 6-page report. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you for joining me along with this video. Please subscribe, like, share. The violations that we talked about today, by the way, again, they were specifically from the state of Wyoming, but I bet they're pretty similar all over the country. So make sure your CDL is good to go. Make sure your inspections are good to go, and you should have success out there on the road. Thank you, and until next time, I'm Joe. This is Big Rig Briefing.